Good morning, class. Today we will look over multiplying radical numbers or expressions. Alright, we have seen how we simplify radical expression and numbers, so we're going to multiply them at this point. Make sure you follow the steps to do so. For example, the square root of 3 times the square root of 6. There are many ways to go about this. However, since we have been simplifying, let's follow this particular step. This is the same thing as square root of 3 times the square root of 3 times 6. Now, so this becomes the square root of 18 at this point. And now what we have, we break 18 down as we have done before. And this becomes the square root of the product 2 times 3 times 3, and we have this equal 3 square root of 2. You might think, okay, this is easy. Let us look at another. Consider finding the product of the following: the square root of 20 and the square root of 15. Well, if we just simply multiply them, we will get a big number. This is what I suggest. First and foremost, go ahead, break 20 down, and break 15 down, you get the following. Okay, so you get the square root of the product 2 times 5, and times the square root of 3 times 5. So what we do, now we have everything factored out. We can put it under one square root sign. Once we have that, we repeat our procedure as which numbers appear twice. And we have the following. You should end up with 10 square root of 3. Make sure you pay attention on what happens here. At this point, let us find the product of negative 5 square root of 27 times the expression 4 square root of 6. Ladies and gentlemen, when we do that, outside multiply outside, inside multiply inside. The coefficients of the radicals multiply the coefficients together. Then the radicands are multiplied together. Again, since you might end up with a decent integer which is big, I suggest that you break the radicands first. You factor the radicands and you end up with the following. After that, you do the same thing for 6 and you end up with the following. So what happens, the coefficients are multiplied together and we have the radicands. So at this point, ladies and gentlemen, well, we know 5 times 4, negative 5 times 4 is negative 20. And now we only use one square root sign and put all the factors under it. So at this point, ladies and gentlemen, we follow our steps as which one repeat twice. And we have the following. So our answers become the 20 that's already negative 20 that's already outside times 3 times another 3 because it repeats twice 2 times, and square root of 2 that is left. And at this point, ladies and gentlemen, we have negative 180 square root of 2. Alright, that is how you find the product. Now let us look at the following, where it contains a variable. Okay, the square root of 54x to the 4th times 3, the square root of 3xy cubed. Well, the first one doesn't seem to have a coefficient, but the coefficient is there. It is 1. So we're going to break 54 down, and we have 3, 2, 3, 3. But remember, x to the 4th is there, indicate there are 4 x's. And well, on the second radicand, we only have 3. We cannot break down 3. And the variable, we have 1x and 3y's. So we follow the same protocol. Remember, there's a 1 in front of the first radical number. So we multiply the coefficients. Then we follow with, of course, the first one, which is 3 times 2 times 3 times 3, and the second one that has 3x, y, y, y. So at this point, we rewrite everything. 1 times 3 is 3, and we put everything under one radical sign. And we look for the pairs again. At this point, ladies and gentlemen, we have this. We have a pair of 3. We have a second pair of 3. We have a pair of x, a second pair of x, and a pair of y. So this coefficient right here is going to be the 3 that was outside already, and another 3 for the first pair, another 3 for the second pair. Then we have an x and a second x and a y for the pairs. Now, ladies and gentlemen, what is left here is 2y. Consequently, we end up with having this equal 27x squared y, the square root of 2y. The steps are exactly the same. Do not change them. And stay to the rules of multiplication. The same rule you use with integers you use here, except you implement the step for simplifying. Now let's look at distributing radical numbers. Just like you would have distribute x times the expression 3x plus 2, you're going to do the same thing here. Now, this is what happens. You have the square root of 3 times the expression 2 plus the square root of 7. Now, this outside multiply everything inside the parentheses. Since the 2 does not have a square root sign, the 2 will multiply the coefficient of square root of 3. The square root of 3 has a number in front of it, which is 1. So it's 2 times 1 square root of 3. And square root of 3 multiplies square root of 7. Because both of them have square root, we multiply the radicand, which means the numbers inside. So we end up with 2 times the square root of 3 plus the square root of 3 times the square root of 7. And if we simplify, we end up with 2 square root of 3 plus square root of 21. That's all there is to it. That is all there is to it. And now, ladies and gentlemen, let's look at that you try the following. See if you really understand this concept by trying the following problems. It is important that you do. Please do ask questions if needed, comment, and so forth. All right.